Kings-Mavs.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
And hello again. Good evening. Ryan in Sacktown coming to you from the Kings Court Studios with the pregame show, getting you ready for the Kings and the Mavericks. The Kings back at home. Tonight is for you. Tonight is about the fans. It's the first opportunity that you, whether you're going to the game, whether you react digitally, whatever it may be, but especially if you're going to the game, this is your opportunity to let this franchise know, let this owner know about how you feel the last, you could say the season, but in particular, the last week has been handled by this team. And speaking of how it was handled, how about all of the different news that came out today? Especially Ramona Shelburne's article on ESPN.com. We're going to talk about that a little more. As for the game tonight, the Mavericks, basically with nobody. No Kyrie Irving, no Klay Thompson, no Luka. The Kings, healthy other than Jay Crowder. We'll see how it goes. Can they break their 6-game losing streak, or will it extend to 7? Kings 8.5-point favorites in this one. We've got a ton. We're going to break down this entire busy day in Sacramento Kings land and talk about Doug Christie's pregame press conference. We'll hit the high notes of that and much more. By the way, programming notes, sorry about earlier. Napes got tied up, so he was not here for the 4 o'clock show, but we should have him back for halftime, so our apologies on that. But hey, let's get it going. Let's get started. Welcome in to the pregame show on If You Don't Like That.
Grant and Ryan, break it down. It's Sacktown, we're the crown.
Needs to be more aggressive on the offensive end, but this is the time to get Williams, the D-Hop. Bucks, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that.
And welcome back in. Get involved in the show. Make the show better. You can call using the QR code on the screen. It is also, if you want to click the link, it is in the chat. Would love to hear from you tonight. As always, we are brought to you by Bennett's Restaurants. Make sure you go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Learn more about all 3. They're fabulous locations here in the greater Sacramento area. We'll talk more about them here in a little bit, but let's get to it. Kings-Mavs tonight. Both teams going the wrong way. The Mavericks right now dealing with a ton of injuries. We hit some of those off the top, but no Luka, no Kyrie, most notably no Klay Thompson, no Derek Lively. This team that's coming off a loss in Portland most recently, trying to figure it out without their superstar. Conversely, the Kings, about as healthy as they've been in a while. Devin Carter has been recalled to the Kings after his big night Saturday for the Stockton Kings. We'll talk about him in a little bit. I want to get to some of the audio from Devin. He had a very good night, and I'm excited for this kid. In fact, if you're a Kings fan, is that maybe what you're most excited about right now? He's back way before the Kings expected it. Wasn't supposed to be reevaluated until the end of this month, possibly early February, but he is fully cleared and talked a little bit about how he's feeling, that shoulder, and why this injury isn't something new to him. So we can hit all of that. This Kings team, and I said it again, there's not much to be excited about And we're trying to generate this excitement. We're trying to find the positives rather than look at the negatives. And it's been really hard, really hard. I've said it a few times, most recently on the Kings court earlier today. Kings fans in this organization need to work twice as hard. They need to do twice as good as most other teams to get half of that same recognition. But when they step in it, it is right there front and center for you to see, including Ramona Shelburne, who did an excellent. I want to give her full credit. It was a great article on the last week and the firing of Mike Brown, how it came about. But was it curious timing? Was it maybe to offset what could still be coming to them tonight, which is an unhappy fan base? The last 2 games, this team has been booed off the court at the Golden One Center. They're 6-12 on the season at home. But more than trying to offset the fan base and maybe make tonight go a little bit smoother, there might be bigger concerns within that article that I want to talk about, because the Kings, they are in a such, or I should say, a very delicate spot. This can be as simple as a recalibration, this could be a rebuild, or this could be a complete disaster. It could be a combination of the both, and this could blow up in the franchise's face to the point where you could set yourself back 4-5 years with some of these decisions. But first things first, the Mavericks come into town for their first meeting with the Kings this season. First time these two teams have matched up. The last 5 games for the Mavericks, told you they lost to Portland on the 28th. Then they beat Phoenix before that on the 25th, Christmas Day game, lost to Minnesota, and then a win over Portland and a win over the Clippers on 12/21. But again, this team's been without Luka Doncic, who is their centerpiece. He's their unicorn, the guy that everything runs around. And when he's not there, it's Kyrie Irving. Kyrie put up, I believe, 39 in Portland in that losing effort, but he'll be out due to maintenance on his shoulder. So what's the Dallas Mavericks offense going to look like? You can bet these guys are probably going to ball out. Many Kings fans think guys are out. Oh no, the stars aren't playing. That hurts our chances. Well, it might actually, in this case, help the Kings a little bit tonight. What did we learn over that 1-game sample size of Doug Christie stepping into this head coach role? We learned that this looks like it's going to be a largely perimeter team. It's going to be a team that is based off of jump shots and spacing and not a ton of physicality. We also learned that the defense, nothing better. Firing Mike Brown didn't improve that. But the Kings, last game, the fouls, that's what absolutely put them in the hole. The Lakers were in the bonus by the third quarter, about 8 minutes through, and then halfway through the fourth quarter. And as for the offense, we had these crash zones. The Kings were making sure that they were getting to the offensive boards, led by Keegan Murray, led by Domantas Sabonis. Those crash zones appear to be gone. Doug Christie talked to the media tonight about 30 minutes ago, and he said in the first game against the Lakers that they wanted to simplify the offense. And to most of us that watch the Kings regularly, you could see the offense was simplified, not as much motion, not as much physicality, especially when it came to pick and rolls. So in a sense, not always bad when guys are playing more and thinking less, but it also takes away from some of those strengths that this team has played to at times, specifically Domantas Sabonis, pick and rolls, putting pressure on the defense, making the defense choose who they're going to guard. Now, with that out the window, or at least for 1 game, Doug Christie says tonight the goal is to simplify the defense. I'm not sure what that means, because that defense the Kings played, other than 1 or 2 possessions of zone against the Lakers without LeBron James, was pretty simple. One difference to me that I noticed was they weren't leaving their man as much on the strong side, but yet the corners were still open, and Hachimura made the Kings pay for that. Austin Reeves made the Kings pay from the corners. By the way, the shortest three-point shot on the floor, the easiest three-point shot on the floor. And also, Dalton Connect made the Kings pay. Three-point shooting defense, can it get any better? What will Doug's simplified defense look like if it's switching 1 through 5? We know that the Kings have done that in the past, and it has not always worked out. But again, Doug Christie implementing some changes, first time on the home court in front of the home fans since everything has gone on. Remember, the last game, Kings were at home. It was a disastrous loss, one that had huge consequences, not only for Mike Brown, but for De'Aaron Fox as well. I was very critical of De'Aaron Fox on that play against Jaden Ivey, the final possession of the game, where it was pretty much obvious to everyone in the building, you can't give up a three, yet De'Aaron Fox standing flat-footed in not guarding position. He's flat-footed away from his man, away from the three-point line, leads to, and by the way, look at that. The ball is in the damn air. The ball's in the air. Fox is daydreaming. And ultimately, fouls Jaden Ivey, 4-point play. Mike Brown, critical after the game, which, if you read Ramona Shelburne's article, laid out. There were some players, allegedly, that have been rubbed wrong by De'Aaron Fox being called out by Coach Brown, by Coach Brown calling out other players. The possession after possession after possession didn't sit well. Well, let me just tell you, if that is what can get under a player's skin in Sacramento, if things like that get under this team's skin, this team's soft. Got to be real. Soft. Look at how Mike Malone coaches. Look at how other successful coaches get it done. So what's Mike Brown to do? You just sit there, hold your breath? Doug Christie, maybe he can get through to them. We don't know. The Kings, again, 8.5-point favorites tonight heading into this one against the Mavericks. Want to get all of you up in here and involved in the show. Let's check out some of your messages as we start getting closer to tip-off. Don't forget, we're here all night, so make sure that you come back. We start it right here with the pregame show. Halftime, the one and only Jerry Reynolds right here. Intermission. Can't wait to have him breaking down the first 24 minutes. We'll get your final score predictions, and obviously we will get Jerry's as well, give you some keys to the second half. And then after the game, Grant and I right here taking your phone calls, taking your comments, breaking this one down. Game 33 in the season for the Kings. All right, to the chat. How is everybody feeling? Are you going to the game tonight? What do you expect if you're going? What do you expect if you're watching from home? Do you still think that there's going to be some boo birds in the building? Is De'Aaron Fox going to take some? Is Vivek Ranadive going to take some? Here's a name. You'll understand why in a moment as we get further into it. Is Monty McNair going to take some? We'll see. Irving hopping in. Fox acting like a little girl. You can see it in him. He doesn't want to play hard at all. Prime example of lollygagging around. Look, after last game against the Lakers, I called De'Aaron Fox a fraud. I stand by what I said. Here's why. Half of De'Aaron Fox's points were in garbage time. The things that De'Aaron does best, using his speed, getting by guys, body control, setting teammates up, getting to the free throw line, that didn't happen. In fact, this Kings team got to the free throw line one time in the first quarter, 3 times, I believe, total in the first half. The Lakers, they were fouled 26 times by the Kings. Certainly that needs to be cleaned up tonight. Domantas Sabonis had a really tough game coming off of an illness. I'm going to give him a pass there. But one of my worries as this offense evolves, if that is the simplified offense that Doug Christie is talking about, there's not much of a scheme to play towards Domas's strengths. And there's going to be a lot of jump shots, meaning if shots are falling, this team's going to look good. They're going to have high assist numbers. They'll win a ball game or two. If shots are not falling, it's going to be a long night. It is going to be a very long night. There is some more spacing, which led to some definite easier looks for Trey Lyles. Domas got one or two at a time, but those patented Domas rebounds right under the hoop where he goes up a couple of times, those are going to be fewer and far in between because you're shooting jump shots. It's a much more unpredictable bounce coming off the rim. Hopefully, we'll see some more wrinkles for Domas as this goes along, but I have no idea what simplifying the defense could be. And that's what Doug Christie said. And in fact, it seems like the Kings as a whole are trying to get in front of whatever may be coming tonight from this fan base. I say that because Doug says, we're here to win, end quote. Also, Doug said a lot about the city. We're here to put a product on the floor that makes you proud, end quote, from Doug Christie. He's still getting his feet wet. Grant has been pretty open and honest about Doug being selected as the interim head coach of this team. He was fourth on the bench. It was a very odd selection. And as for the booing, as for the fan reaction, do what you're going to do, but just do it ethically. Don't be stupid. Don't go throw stuff on the floor. Don't be MFing people with kids around. Boo. If you want to boo, just be responsible about it. Be classy with it. James, what's up, my man? Thank you for the super chat. Fox hasn't proven anything. Kings have no fight in them. It's like they are only playing to pay bills. Well, there's something about De'Aaron that's bugging me. And I feel like De'Aaron is, you see it, it's a known thing to the point where the TV announcers are talking about it. Well, he just got hit. Oh, he didn't get a call. So here comes bad Fox. Don't make that man mad. You make that man mad. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? Well, we shouldn't have to see a line between laissez-faire Fox and pissed off Fox. Where is that Fox for 4 quarters? And that's been a little bit of a criticism of him for a while. But your best version of De'Aaron Fox is not shooting a ton of threes. When he's shooting a ton of threes, it's not a good formula for this team. Now, I want to get to this article. Not sure if you caught it. And if you were with me with the Kings Court earlier today, thank you so much for being here. This might be a little bit of repeat, but it is that important to me. And I think it will be that important to you. Ramona Shelburne came out with an article detailing the last week, how the firing of Mike Brown went down, what led to it, how did they get there. First, though, De'Aaron Fox, if you did not see, NBA Central put some things out there in regards to what was going on with the Kings and maybe why certain people were not happy. De'Aaron Fox wasn't having it for a second. He clapped back on Twitter, and what he clapped back to was this from NBA Central. Here was NBA Central.
Players get traded for a lack of a fit. Coaches aren't immune to that, So I'm hearing there was just some pushback from how De'Aaron Fox was continuously being singled out, whether it was publicly or behind the scenes, or the players just didn't agree with that sentiment, or I was even hearing whispers that there was a situation where he might have asked, or suggested that even DeMar DeRozan come off the bench, and those things proved to be severe missteps in an already challenging season, where it put the front office in a position where they had to side with either the all-star talent they had or to part ways with their former coach of the year, who had a brand new 3-year extension.
Todd, De'Aaron Fox has played great at times this season. His stretch where he had 60 and then 49 in consecutive nights. That week of basketball where his 3-point totals, his 3-point attempts were right around the same as his assists in total. That was the best version of De'Aaron Fox. That De'Aaron Fox has backed off since that week of basketball. In fact, I would put forward that at times it looks like De'Aaron's disinterested. It looks like he's out there to not get hurt. And if that's the case, sit his ass down. At least put somebody in that's going to give it their all. Have some reckless abandon. Leave it all out on the court. These little things. There were so many times last game where it looks like Fox is hustling. It's called fake hustle when you're gambling on plays defensively. You're going for a steal and then flying by, being out of position, which gives the other team an advantage. The Kings had, for heaven's sakes, a 5-on-4 fast break, and De'Aaron Fox pulled up for a 3. So, Todd, on paper, De'Aaron's playing great. He had 29 or 31 points, whatever it was. He had 14 going into the fourth quarter. It was a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. It was garbage time. Let's get back to this article. I found a few things in here very, very interesting. There's an unnamed source that is talked about in this article that gives some very intimate information about how all this went down. And remember, this Monty McNair front office has traditionally played things very close to the vest. Not much leaks out of there. When there are bigger trades, most times you don't see them coming. And even half of those times, it might be a player that we never thought about, that we never heard in trade rumors. So keep that in mind as we read through this really quick. The Kings' decision and execution of the move drew criticism from around the league. We know that Michael Malone spoke out, JB Bickerstaff, Jordy Fernandez, etc. After informing Brown, Wilcox, let me go back a little bit up. It's more important. My bad. General Manager Monty McNair convened several calls and meetings with Associate GM Wes Wilcox, their team president, and Governor Vivek Ranadive throughout the Kings' disastrous 0-5 homestand. So the front office was convening meetings without the coach. After the loss to the Indiana Pacers on December 22nd, Ranadive flew out of the country for the Christmas holiday and wasn't present for the Pistons game. We know how that one ended, but he was watching. And when they all got in touch late Thursday night, speaking of Wes Wilcox, the team president, and Monty McNair, Wes is the assistant GM, not the team president. Kings team president was also involved in those meetings, and Vivek. So when they all got in touch late Thursday night, it was resolved to sleep on it and talk again in the morning. That call began as the team was starting film session. That call couldn't have happened a little earlier. All right. It led to a few more calls and then finally a decision. McNair called Brown as he was driving to the airport to inform him of the decision. It was a somber call, sources said, between two men who had been riding so high together less than 2 years earlier, as Brown was unanimously voted the league's coach of the year and McNair was its top executive. Just because those two were riding high doesn't mean those two were always on the same page. There's a lot of speculation if you try to read between the lines and listen to Monty's comments. You listen to Mike's comments. Specifically, I will point you back to the exit interviews. Go check out the exit interviews. Very interesting stuff. And you could see where maybe they weren't always aligned. Remember, they're not the ones on the court playing. They're the ones making decisions and coaching, but they're not playing. And I get personnel decisions and coaching ultimately do have an effect on winning, but there's a big line there as well. So after informing Brown, That's right. Excuse me. After informing Brown, Wilcox and McNair called Fox, DeRozan, and all-star forward Domantas Sabonis. Fox and DeRozan were getting ready to head to the airport. Sabonis was homesick and missed the call. None of them were consulted on the decision. Quote, that team has plenty of talent, end quote. One source with knowledge of the team said, quote, the roster is fine. They had to make a change, end quote. An hour later, assistant coach Doug Christie was named the team's interim coach. The team found out as they sat on the plane waiting to fly to Los Angeles. All right. Let's talk about a few things. Up until this article came out, a lot of speculation. Could De'Aaron Fox had been involved with Mike Brown's firing? Who knows? Not sure. Now, in this same article, they talk about De'Aaron Fox giving his blessing when Mike Brown was negotiating his extension. And the exact quote that's in the article says, I don't want another coach. To me, that's not a shining endorsement. To me, that's saying, I don't want another coach. That's not, absolutely. I hope Coach Brown and I hope he leads this team for the next 5 years. I can't imagine this team being coached by another guy in the NBA. Now, maybe we're playing semantics here, but here's one place that we are not playing semantics. You have an owner that is not known for his basketball IQ. You have an owner that has been known to be, as Grant puts it, quote unquote, a buffoon. I think you have an owner that can be easily influenced. What's all that translate to? That translates to a perfect storm. Perfect storm. He said, she said. Well, Vivek, let me give you a little extra time. Let me explain how these things work. Come here, Vivek. Let me help you out. What I'm saying is you don't have a buffer between owner, who knows nothing about basketball, and GM and or coach. No buffer in between there. So if coach is spitting a ton of basketball ideas at you, maybe 2 or 3 are good. Maybe 1 or 2 are bad. Vivek has to decide. He doesn't really know much about basketball. To see in this article, the roster is fine. Monty McNair convened these meetings. Very interesting. Now, Mike Brown has culpability in all this. We can't argue any other way, and I'm not arguing that he shouldn't have lost his job. However, if we're going to say Mike Brown has culpability, Monty McNair sure has a ton of it too. In fact, there's a pretty good argument about which side of the fence that ball really lands in, because Mike Brown's bench was thin to begin with. Very thin to begin with. So here's my worry. If Monty McNair has this much power, and Monty McNair is convening meetings about the team's future with Coach Brown, does Vivek think this roster's great? He must. Why else would you fire the coach? There's an element too. We talked about it at the beginning about coach calling players out publicly. If that's calling a player out, like I said, you have a soft team here in Sacramento. What this is to me is certainly, you got to believe that source is somewhere in that front office or very close to it. This seems like an attempt to quiet this fan base down, ease the anger a little bit, lay off Fox. He wasn't involved. Lay off the players because they know the unrest that's going on here. And a little bit even more troubling, if this owner is listening to Monty McNair and gives that much credibility to what Monty is saying about this roster, what the hell is going to happen when it comes time to maybe trade Fox, to do something different? These massive decisions that could sway which direction this team goes, they're going to be in the hands of Monty. And if we have an owner that says the roster's fine, agrees with it, oh boy, what's next? What is next? This article is a fall guy. That's what it is. Put your name to the article, whoever you were, whoever the source was, and just stand up to it. So I ask you, and I asked this earlier today, where do you come out? Does this ease your tensions? Are you not as angry? Not upset at Fox? Going to the phones really quick. Let's go to the phones. King. Oh, King's pregame show. Yeah, we're going to have to let that go. Too much music. Too much music. Appreciate the effort, though. So let me know where you come out on that. I think that is very important. Does it make you feel better? Does it make you feel worse? This is what is being reported nationally. And again, very, very good article by Ramona Shelburne. David, Monty McNair equals coward. Should have been a presser same day. I agree. You know, maybe not a presser, but I agree in this sense. He's very sheltered, not in front of the media too often. And the fact that he was able to convene these meetings and to fire, and again, I'm separating the way that the firing was done from the actual result of Mike Brown losing his job. There's an absolute argument there that Mike Brown should lose his job. However, there is a very good argument that if you are going to the point where you are firing a coach, you're firing a coach that just signed an extension. I get you've lost 5 games in a row at that point on your home court, but that just signed an extension. That's a pretty drastic move. How are you not looking at the other side of the fence? How are you not also connecting the dots that it's not all just coaching? Mike Brown's bench has 2, count them 2 two-way players that have been in this rotation. It has 2 guys that were not in the NBA or on an NBA roster when this season began. That's not on Mike Brown. That's on the front office. So how do you not see the other side of that? Really difficult stuff. Something that is not difficult. That is making it out to Bennett's for one of their great different specials throughout the week, or just one of their prime cuts of seafood and steak. I say the specials because this last weekend brunch, one of my favorites at all 3 locations. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. You can pull up all of their menus. You can also look at the specials. Like I said, different specials going on almost every single day. Tonight, Monday, wine and dine. Monday, 2 entrees and a bottle of wine under $70. Are you kidding me? How about happy hour, 2 to 6 o'clock, Monday through Friday, sips and tastes. And if you're having a get together, if you're having your office party, if you're having folks over and you don't feel like cooking, let Bennett's handle it for you, whether it's in restaurant or outside of the restaurant. They have beautiful private dining rooms that they can reserve for you. Or if you want them to come to you, just give my guy, owner Brian Bennett, a call. In fact, let him explain.
I don't know about you, but if you're thinking about having a holiday party or a party of any kind, and you don't ask us to make our house smoked salmon, to grill our prime New York steak, to grill long stem artichokes to make ahi pokey. What are you talking about? You're going to have a party and you're not going to call Bennett's to have them take care of you? My goodness gracious. Give us a call. We can make this for Easter. We can make it for Christmas. We can make it for anybody's.
Give him a call right now. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. You can get the numbers for each of their 3 locations here in the greater Sacramento area. The West Side Grill, the newest in Rockland, located in the Blue Oaks Town Center. Huge thanks to Brian, Margot, the entire team at Bennett's for sponsoring tonight's pregame show. And go check them out. You will not be disappointed. Trust me, that is Bennett'sRestaurants.com. So huge thanks to them. Man, did that look good. So what would you go for first? I think I'm starting with the shrimp. Go a little smoked salmon after that. Get some steak, some ahi. Did you see the cookies and the baked goods? Oh my gosh. I am salivating. My mistake. Yep, we covered that. No Luca. None of them tonight. This is a decimated Dallas team that is falling in the Western Conference. Think about if the Kings weren't 6-12 at home. Think about if they capitalized on the 5 games at home before this, what we'd be talking about. This would be an important game. Dallas is falling in the Western Conference right now, but instead, the Kings are only 1 game ahead of the Portland Trail Blazers. Incredible. I get her done as a defensive coach. Monty dropping Davion and Barnes for an injured rookie and a guy that doesn't fit at all outside of bringing Domas here. What has Monty done? So here's my take on Monty. I've been saying it now for a while. I'm going to use a baseball analogy. Monty has either hit a home run with his moves or he is struck out. There's been nothing in the middle. Nothing. There's been no singles. There's been no doubles. What I'm telling you is the fringes on this team have not been improved. I'll give Monty McNair a pass for 22-23 when the Kings won 48 games. Makes sense to keep that team intact. Makes sense not to really rattle the core, especially with the Western Conference that year. So injured. The Kings, the healthiest team in the NBA by a long shot. Get it. But then you get to that offseason and you run it back. Anybody that says, oh, well, you got Sasha. Sasha was already property of the Sacramento Kings. Kings just simply got him to come over from Europe. So it was still a big move. It didn't work. We know that. Sasha's not even in the NBA anymore, right? But that extension to Sabonis, if you want to look at why this bench is as thin as it is right now, you can start there because you could have used that money and waited on that Sabonis extension to improve the roster because you don't get to a bench like this overnight. It's an accumulation of non-movement, and that's what's happened. So again, great trade. It worked out for both teams. Halliburton for Sabonis. Keegan Murray was a very good draft pick. Devin Carter, we'll see how he turns out. Davion, in the middle. I think Davion's going to have a very healthy life or a very healthy career in the NBA, but he was not anything over the top. And by the way, Brendan Nunes put out a really good tweet earlier today about some of Monty's moves. And that's why I kept bringing this up to a degree, because if you're going to be questioning Mike Brown, and possibly one of the things coming out was Mike was considering having DeMar DeRozan come off the bench. Seems like a pretty good move. In fact, if you were going to do anything else to that starting lineup after you put Malik Monk in it, that would probably be the move. We've talked about that move here on this channel, and that was not received well by obviously management and the players. If you can't have that line of communication, and if you can't try things as a coach, who can coach this team? It's impossible to coach this team at that point. So, look, can I get, where's Brendan's tweet? Let me see if I can find that really quick, because I really did like that. I don't know that I have it. Did it go away? Brendan, where are you at, my man? I'm trying to give you some love here. Yep, it is gone. So we'll get to that later today. Kings-Mavs coming up. Mavs missing just about everybody. See, no, he was being too hard. That is the rhetoric coming from sources around the NBA. Now, Fox is denying it. He's saying that they never had an argument. They never did any of that. That's fine. You may have never had an argument, but look at how he reacted to the media after Mike was critical of that last play, as he should have been. That was like a diet call out. That was not full strength. And if that's all it takes to rattle the face of the franchise, you better start looking somewhere else. And that's the biggest thing. I go back to the fact that Monty, if he's got the power to convene meetings with the owner about the coach's future, then he's going to be the one making these massive decisions. If they think Fox is the guy, I have my opinion on it. You guys have your opinions. It should be interesting how it comes out. 21-21 Niners. There you go. Niners playing hard. I saw Debo running a sweep. I'm like, dude, you're running a sweep this time of the season? Would not be happy with my head coach about that. Let's see. To be honest, Mike Brown was being too conservative. Okay, fair enough. Look, there's blame there for Mike, but Monty McNair's side of the fence ain't clean whatsoever. Mike does not cook, or Mike does not shop for the groceries. And Monty McNair has not done Mike any favors when it comes to the draft picks. None whatsoever. So nailed it, Tony. This team's soft. And they're going to continue to be soft if they're going to be a jump shooting team. We're going off of one game. It's the only sample size we have, but let's see what they do tonight. Doug Christie, again, his comments focused around simplifying things. The offense was the focus against the Lakers. The defense is the focus tonight. Last time I checked, these guys are NBA professionals. Usually you can do both ends of the court at the same time, but that's beyond me. Look, Grant said it beautifully. If he was Doug, he would have accepted the role too. He would have. But Doug should have never been offered this job. And their plane, sat on the runway. Waiting to see who the head coach was going to be. They didn't think that out ahead of time. Interesting. And again, I am most looking forward to see how all of you react. If you are at the game, if you know somebody at the game, that's why I'm tuning in. I want to see what type of heat, what type of recourse this fan base shows up with. Is it going to be hunky-dory and all good? Did this article, which this article is clearly the fall guy to make sure people don't boo Fox, don't boo Vivek, don't boo Monty. This is the fall article. I don't think it's going to help, but we'll see. Don't forget, we are back at a halftime. As for this game, what's the point of the keys? Kings just need to make more jump shots than the Mavericks and foul less. That's what it comes down to, because that was the simplified offense they were running against the Lakers. Mavericks are missing everyone. No Kyrie, no Klay Thompson, no Luka, no Lively. Mavericks are without any of their regulars, which sometimes does not bid well for the Kings, especially with younger guys that don't get much run. This is their opportunity, especially if you're on a team like Dallas that is trying to survive without Luka for now and maintain their positioning in the playoff race. But if you're with one of those teams, it's your opportunity to show coach, hey, look, I got something in the tank. Think about giving me minutes. So the Kings are still going to take a good shot tonight. We'll see how it goes. Don't forget, Jerry Reynolds with us right here at the half. Make sure you come back at the intermission. Grant will be here as well. And after the game, we're doing the post game as always. We have loved all of the participation, all of the calls as of late. So keep them coming. We will stay as long as you are calling and commenting. Looking forward to that. Again, huge thanks to Bennett's for sponsoring tonight's show. That is Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Prime cuts of seafood and steak. Go check them out. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. We'll see you at the intermission. Jerry Reynolds right here with us to talk about that first Lakers game, what he sees in the first half of this one tonight, and give us some keys to the second half. Go Kings, light the damn beam. We'll see you at the intermission. So long.